Hey there, everybody. Bass Fisher 3K, Tim Drazel here. I've been meaning to do this quick video for a while. A lot of people have asked over the years about co-angling and tips for co-anglers, that kind of thing. I've actually had some really good co-anglers on the back of my boat and had quite a few trophies won off the back of my boat, so I thought I'd give you some tips. I also spent 6 years as a co-angler before flipping to the boater side uh, on the FLW at all three levels of the FLW tour, BFLs, Costas, and Tour, which doesn't have co-anglers anymore. They went to Marshall program this year, but got a lot of experience, and I thought I'd break down some simple things for guys thinking about becoming a co-angler. The number one thing is communication. You know, when you're paired with your boater, usually in the FLW, it's always the night before. You get your pairings. So you know who your boater is going to be. Communication is absolutely key. Ask questions. Make absolutely sure you know where you're supposed to be. You know does he need you to bring? Do you need to bring some ice? Do you need to bring some drinks? Anything to help the boater out at that point. I mean, he's got his hands full. She's got her hands full. Just dealing with the boat and gas and everything else. They've got to get to the landing in the morning. You've got some rods in a tackle bag, and to be helpful, but communication is the key. Talk to your boater about what's going to be happening tomorrow. If they don't have a whole lot of details to give you, just plan accordingly. If you don't know if you're going to be shallow, deep, or whatever, because they're not very communicative, that can happen. So just make sure you have a variety of things with you. But communication is key. I've always found that the more I communicated with my boaters, and not like an obsessive parrot in the back that's just constantly badgering them. I'm talking more about before we ever start fishing, or when you're sitting in the boat before blast off. Talk, say, okay, so what kind of stuff are you doing? Are you going shallow? Are you going deep? Fishing, you know, reeds, pencil reeds. You're fishing, cane. What are you doing? Kissimmee grass. All the different things we have down here. Just get an idea and say, I'm not trying to, pick your brain and learn all your secrets. I just kind of want to have an idea of what we're facing. And most guys are going to tell you exactly what you're doing, or at least what their plan is. Um, I know on both ends of the spectrum, as a co-angler and a boater, I do exactly that. I tell them exactly what I've experienced in practice, exactly what I'm anticipating, and I'll tell them, hey, make sure you have a 2 ounce weight tied on today because we're going to punch some heavy mats later in the day or whatever it happens to be. Make sure you have some light line stuff because we're going to be finessing some fish in open water, or whatever it happens to be. But communication is key. It saves you both a lot of issues. Talk about the net. Do you want me coming with the net every time? Do you want me to wait for you to call me with the net? Do you want me to try and scoop the fish? Do you want me to just wait and you're tell me what to do? Just communication, communication, communication. Both of you are going to have a much better day if you communicate. Use your words. Talk. You'd be surprised at how you know sometimes the simplest things are the ones that we avoid the most. As a co-angler, I've always thought less is more. Even when I started out, I wanted like 15 rods and I wanted, just giant, massive amount of tackle. And I quickly learned that that's a huge disservice to myself and it actually causes more harm than good. So less is always more in a co-angler situation. One, you have more room to operate. These guys and gals running these big rigs don't have all the space in the world to share with you. Most of the guys on the FLW side of things try to keep that back dry box open to the co-angler. I know I always do, or at least have enough space in there that you can throw jackets and whatever, maybe a little tackle bag in there, or just food items or snacks or whatever. Because the less clutter you have, the better. If you roll up to this poor guy or gal's boat and you have 26 rods, tied together like this big around, it's probably not going to start your relationship off in the best way. At certain levels of the FLW side, they actually have restrictions on it. They don't at the tour level anymore because they don't have co-anglers, but the tour level you can only bring 7 rods. So make sure you check the rules for whatever organization you happen to be fishing with. At the tour level as a co-angler, you can only bring 7 rods, one tackle bag, and a miscellaneous bag. They were very, very specific about what you could and couldn't bring. And that was just to save the boater pro from having to deal with being the neck, all they had to say is, sorry guys, it's against the rules. You can't bring 18 rods on the boat. And that just saved them from being the bad guy, I think. But just check with your boater, but try to think less is more. There's two reasons for that. One, you have very little room to operate. The guy or gal in the front of the boat has all these rod lockers, has all these tackle places to store things. You don't. You've got one seat. You've got usually a little slot where you can put your rods as a co-angler that'll strap down next to your seat, and then sometimes you have some space in the back. But a lot of times, if guys brought a big tackle bag on my boat, that had to go right under their feet, right in front of their seat. So they had to put their legs over that bag. So just think about the space you have to operate and what's going to be easier for you. Plus, by limiting your selections, you can focus on fishing and not on, well, I've got 18 rods, I've got 18 baits tied on, I need to try all 18 of them. No, less is always more. Focus on just the things that you're going to have confidence in, and make sure if you did step one right, you communicated with your boater, you're going to have the right stuff for that, whatever he's doing in the afternoon, whatever she's doing in the morning. Make sure you have a buzzbait tied on. If they tell you that, do it. They're telling you that for a reason. They're not telling you that to throw you some curveball out into space. Now, if their plan changes, maybe you don't go to that buzzbait spot, and then they say, "Hey, look, I'm not gonna make the run to the buzzbait spot. We're gonna stop and drag a worm across this point." So don't hold them to the plan. Plans change all the time. My plans literally are spinning in my head before my number is called. Sometimes I don't decide the exact point A or point B or point C that I'm going to go to until literally I blast off and I finally make the decision. No, I'm going up the river. No, I'm going to make the long run. Or no, I'm just going right around this grassy island and we're going to start on this open water stuff out here. Sometimes I make the call at the last second, but I tell the co-angler what I'm thinking. And then when I say, okay, we're about to blast off, and I go, okay, we're going to go to the worming spot. So, make sure your worm rod's ready to go. Um, so communication, less is more. Um, be helpful. You know, boaters don't owe you something. There's this misconception, and I see co-angler, bashing boaters all the time. They go, well, he didn't this or she didn't that, or he blah 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 blah. No, listen. If you're going to do this properly, go into it with the mindset, hey, basically I'm getting a guided fishing trip today. Okay? I've signed up. Yes, I want to win. Yes, I'd love to cut a check, get a trophy, go to regional championships, go whatever. Obviously, you have a mission to accomplish too. But that boater doesn't owe you something. That boater did not sign up and say, well, I owe my co-angler a trophy today. No, that's not how it works. They have to focus on what they need to do their piece of the puzzle. So just be helpful. I have met so many. I mean, like I said, I spent 6 years as a co-angler, probably 40 tournaments as a co-angler through all the different divisions and different stuff. My, with one exception, I would fish with every single one of those people again in a heartbeat because we became friends on the water. We were helpful to each other. We talked, we communicated, we became buddies, we became fishing buddies. So if you go into it with the right attitude, I think, and you're just helpful. Hey, I'm here to help you. If you're going in the cooler, say, hey, do you want me to grab you a water or a Gatorade while I'm down here? You'll be if you're an extrovert like me, this stuff just comes naturally. I love to talk to people. I love to make new friends. So, this is just very simple for me. But, just be helpful and say, hey, can I help you with that? Or, hey, do you need me to do this? Or what can I do? Just be helpful. You'd be surprised that, especially if you've got a guy or gal as a boater or a pro that's had a couple of bad co-angler experiences. They may be tense and tight and don't, and they're afraid to, what am I facing today? You'd be surprised at just how one little helpful gesture or one little, hey, do you want me to back in? Do you want me to go park the truck? What do you feel comfortable with? Blah blah blah. Just be helpful. Offer to bring ice. Offer to bring sandwiches. Offer to bring something. Just the common sort of, you know, treat everybody like you want to be treated kind of thing goes a long way, and it makes for a way better 8 hour tournament day if you're friends and buddies before you even blast off than if there's already tension and you're worried and you're not really communicating. So be as super helpful as you can, and it'll go a long way with the boater. I mean, I go out of my way with my co-anglers to make sure they catch fish. I'll pull up on a spot that I know that's got some 12, 13-inch fish on it that I can at least catch a quick limit, burning a spinnerbait or whatever it happens to be. I go out of my way to try and make sure my co-anglers at least catch fish. But I don't owe that co-angler that. I really don't. I signed up. I paid the money, which is twice as much, by the way. I paid for all the gas. I did all the practice. I hauled this boat 7 hours, you know, downstate to fish this tournament. I don't owe you anything. I want you to. I really do. I want to make sure you have a great day. I want to make sure that you catch fish. I want to make sure, and like I said, I've got a bunch of trophies going off the back of my boat, a bunch of them. Um, I'm thrilled when that happens. That's a badge of honor for me if you do really well. But I don't owe that to you. And no boater out there, no pro out there owes you a trophy or a check or some kind of super exceptional experience. They owe you decency, fairness, respect, the basics absolutely. But if you're signed up as a co-angler to go out and oh well, you better get me on the winning fish. That's not how this works. Go buy a boat, become a boater, do your own thing. Um, but if you're helpful, you're courteous, you're kind, you're going to have a great time, and you're going to make a fishing buddy for life, and that's a much more fun with the pressure of tournament fishing, especially. Again, I said this earlier, but fish your strengths. No matter what the boater on the front is doing, if you're not comfortable with it, don't try it. If one of the very first BFLs I ever fished, this guy was punching mats that were probably this thick. He had a 2.5 ounce weight on, and the biggest weight I had in my bag was a half ounce. I had no idea what punching was all about, so I couldn't do that. So I did my best to work around that. I was casting a Cinco plastic stick bait in every pocket I could while he's punching the mats. One, I'm not competing with his fish, and two, I was able to catch fish 50 yards away while he's catching fish that are 3 feet in front of him. So, you know, think about being different. Do whatever he's doing. If you can do it, you can do it comfortably, and you work out with the boater. Again, communication, talk with your words. Say, listen, we're burning down this bank. Are you okay if I 45 degree and as long as I stay on the same angle casting as you? Yeah, absolutely. Do you want me to wait to flip this mat until you're completely done with it? And they says, yeah, actually, just here, do this. Don't flip past this point because I still haven't hit all these, but you can flip anywhere back here. Communicate, communicate, communicate. You'll have a much better day and you'll catch more fish. I promise you, that'll happen. Um, and sometimes just be different. Even if that guy is, catching a bunch of fish on a spinnerbait, but he's catching all, 1.5, and I've had this happen to me. I've learned from my co-anglers before. This is another tournament a long time ago. I'm burning down a bank, and I'm catching probably every third or fourth cast. I'm catching 1.5, 2 pound fish. I'm stuck on that, 10 pound, 9.5 pound, 10 pound limit. I'm catching cookie cutter fish after cookie cutter fish. Co-angler behind me was throwing a worm and dragging it down the same thing that I was burning that spinnerbait across, and he caught 2 4 pounders behind me before I caught on and tried to adjust. So, think about being different. Don't be afraid to try something different when you're in the back of the boat because that may be the key. And if he's fishing the bank, every once in a while throw out in the middle. Throw out where it doesn't look like anything there because there may be a grass patch out there that's got a 10 pounder sitting in it. Always try to be a little bit different. Always try to find a little bit different angle, and just be super courteous. You know, the tried and true co-anglers who cut a lot of checks, very very simple techniques. There was a guy I knew down there on Okeechobee in the BFL Gator Division, won a bunch of them as a co-angler, and he had 2 rods all the time. That's it, 2 rods, and he was throwing a Senko all the time. He had one that was like a half ounce weight. He had one that was a little tiny weight, and he would throw it up to the reeds and just let it sit. He'd dead stick it, peel off line, no matter how fast the boat was moving, and he's won a bunch of money down there doing that. Two rods, same bait, same color, two rods, and that's it. All he had, the only difference between two rods was the amount of weight he had on there. For and that was just based on wind conditions. Had nothing to do with the depth of the water, how fast he wanted it to sink or slow he wanted to sink. Had only had to do with him being able to cast it pinpoint right to the edge of the reeds, um, or the grass or whatever it happened to be, and letting it sit there. That's all he did, and he won a bunch of checks. So you don't have to have 37 baits. You don't have to have a whole bunch of stuff. Fish your strengths, fish your confidence. But the tried and true stuff is very simple. Got to have a stick bait on, some kind of, in my case it's Mr. Twister, Cometa, Cinco, something like that. Soft plastic stick bait, shaky heads, Carolina rigs, just things that you can do in the back of the boat that are simple and fairly, innocuous, and you're probably going to catch fish. And sometimes, by the end of it, I was out fishing most of my boaters. That's when I realized I needed to go to the front of the boat. I was getting more frustrated on the back of the boat than I was being happy on the back of the boat, and it was time to switch. But co-angling is a fantastic way to learn exactly what it's all about, learn all the little nuances. Hey, look, never do this, do this, do this. I learned a ton in 6 years as a co-angler that served me very well when I switched to the front of the boat because I already knew all these things. I knew how to deal with the launch lines. I knew how to deal with parking and dealing with getting there earlier, getting there at the last minute. I knew how to stage, in the kind of areas where you knew flight 2 was going to be, flight 3 was going to be, flight 4 was going to be, and not be in the way, and get my head straight. You learn all that as a co-angler. Then when you make that switch, it makes it pretty easy. So hopefully this has been helpful. Again, I'm BassFisher3K on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. Tim Drazel, for those of you who don't know me, I hope this was helpful. Talk to you guys soon.